Hey, it's Sifa. Well, today I was going to talk about my second time in the psych ward when I was 17 years old. And I'm sorry if this is shaking a lot. I don't have my video camera right now, so it's just gonna be a little bit shaky, so I apologize in advance for that. But, so let's see. What happened is that I was 17, and this was probably whenever I was the worst in my life. I was cutting the worst, cutting all the time, just really, really bad. I was, not doing very well. I also weighed a lot. I had been just emotionally eating and starving myself, so I weighed a whole lot. I was overweight. And what happened is that I joined a pro-suicide site. And I was going to kill myself, and I was, like, planning on how to do it. And I was, like, you know, saving up medication and, like, doing different things to prepare for my suicide. And basically, my parents found the browser history on my computer and saw what I'd been doing because I used to always delete my browser history. But I guess one day I forgot to, and they found it. And they took me to a psych ward in New Orleans, and they sat me down with the admissions people, and they were like, "We know about your suicide site," and I just like flipped my shit. I was just like fucking pissed off that my parents like found it, and I was like angry and like freaking out. And they were like, "We're gonna keep you here for a few days, you know." So my dad walked me back into the adolescent ward, and we sat down at these like sofas. And there was this boy like at the sofa next to me, and he was just like off his shit. He was just like and as soon as he saw me, he looked at me and he was like, "Are you an angel?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Then are you a demon?" And I was like, no." And he was like, "Are you Jesus Christ?" And I was like, and then like one of the like nurses came up and they were like, "Just don't worry about him. He's just don't worry about him." And but he was really cute, and he had like this kind of longish blonde hair, and he was like really tall and like very, very thin, like almost emaciated. And then I met my roommate, and my roommate was this like bisexual girl who was like a sex addict kind of. And she always like had guys sneak into our room at night, and she would like have sex with them, but I never saw any of it happen, so I don't know like when exactly it went down. I think maybe whenever I was sleeping, I don't know, but it was really weird. Like she always like was like flirting with the guys, and then like whenever we were in like the activity room, she would be like giving them like hand jobs under the table. It was like really, yeah, she was definitely different. And she was really nice, and whenever I went in there, I had cut myself really bad on my thigh. I had this really bad cut, and it was infected. It was like, ugh. It was the worst. I've never had an infection before, ever, until this thing. And I still haven't since had an infection. And so they had to clean it, like, so many times a day and, like, put shit on it and, like, because it never got stitched up. It was just, like, this huge open wound. And the girl, my roommate Eva, she saw it every day. And she was the only one that saw it, because I wore pants all the time to hide my scars, my wounds and stuff. And so she was the only one that like really saw it and knew about it. And then there was this girl there named Heidi, and she was like fucking badass. She had like this really short black hair with like two little strings of hair that came down like this. And she was like all gothic and cool, and like me and her would like cause trouble. And like she had smuggled in razor blades and would like cut herself with them, and then she'd show me her cuts, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's so cool." But which is, horrible, but at the time I was like, crazy and whatever. And me and her ended up becoming really good friends. And then the crazy guy, like the guy that asked me if I was an angel, I'm gonna call him Daniel, and we ended up becoming like best friends because he was just like batshit off his rocker, and he would sing all the time, like nonstop, just singing like opera, because I guess he was a in the choir, and he was like a really amazing singer, and I would always ask him to sing me like Numa Numa Yay or whatever, however it was, and he would always sing it to me like just perfectly with the intro and everything. And I had like so much fun in there, like with Daniel, and we would just talk all the time because like he was just out of it, and he couldn't even like eat or like take care of himself. And then like his roommate told him that he was like the toilet monster. And so then Daniel was like terrified to go to the bathroom from then on. He like would never go to the bathroom. And like it was so funny. And then one time, this guy, Jeremy, his roommate, Daniel's roommate Jeremy was like this huge guy, this giant guy. And one time, Daniel, like, because Daniel was like very religious and he like all of his hallucinations were like religious themed. And one time Daniel decided to like bless Jeremy with holy water, you know? And Jeremy got so mad that he like threw a couch at Daniel. It was like so dangerous. And like I was just sitting there laughing my head off. And everyone in the entire world was screaming and like hiding in their rooms. And I was just laughing hysterically. Because I was like, this is fucking insane. Like, you know, it was crazy. And then I had like the biggest crush on Daniel. And yeah, I'm trying to think what else happened. I remember that they brought us into like we had to do group family therapy, and I hated family therapy because at the time like me and my parents didn't get along at all. It was just horrible, and like I hated them, you know, it was really bad. And I remember that they brought my family in and they basically told my parents that they fucked me up for life. Like they were like, you basically, because of all the shit that you did to your child and because of all the fighting that went on in your household and all the dysfunctional bullshit, your child is fucked for life and it's all your fault. Like, they told my parents that, and I remember, like, I was just, like, crying, and, like, I just felt like shit, you know? And, it was pretty horrible. And then my parents would try to come visit me, but I wouldn't see them. Like, they would drive all the way from the suburbs into the city to come visit me, and I would just be like, no, I don't want to see you. And then they'd just have to drive all the way back, you know, which is kind of bad, but at the time, they were treating me like shit, and I didn't like them, so I didn't want to see them. I'm trying to think what else happened there. It was fun. I mean, like, we did all kinds of activities. It was a nice hospital. We had, like, art therapy, and we would, like, make art and stuff, and we had, like, activity therapy, and we had, like, a gym where we'd go run around, and we'd play, like, volleyball and stuff, and it was a fun time. Like, you know, I liked being there. I was there for about 2 weeks. And that's whenever I first went on a antipsychotic. Because that's whenever they first, like, diagnosed me as having borderline personality disorder. And that was the first time at 17 that I went on anything other than just an antidepressant. And, yeah. Oh, the other thing about Daniel is that, he would go in these, like, fits. And I remember that they would, give him shots of, like, fucking, like, Geodon or, like, you know, Haldol or whatever, like some kind of antipsychotic to like sedate him, and he would just like keep freaking out. And the quiet room was right next to my room, and it was basically literally like this like room with padded walls and like a mattress on the floor, and just like a little window where you can look out, you know. But like that's all that it was, and he would just like sit there and like bang and bang and bang and bang bang bang, and like scream for like all night, like hours and hours and hours. And they had given him like 10 shots of fucking Haldol, and he was still banging on the freaking window. But yeah, so that's that. I never actually ended up like dating him or anything, but I still talk to him to this day, and I still talk to Heidi to this day. They're both pretty much normal now, successful, and yeah, so that's the story of my love in the psych ward and the second hospital stay that I had. Okay, bye.